Plaintiff Michelle Cook worked for the defendant, and she thought he was a good guy until he started sexually harassing her. Michelle claims the defendant asked her about sexual positions and commented on her breast size, despite the fact that he's married with children. Michelle's suing for unpaid wages. Defendant Gregory Glazer says Michelle never mentioned sexual harassment while working for him, and these allegations are nothing but lies. Gregory denies owing Michelle for anything.
Tell me what happened.
Your Honor, I worked for Greg Glazer twice. The first time was for 2 years within 2005 and 2007. At that time, I left on good terms, and at that time, the office ran very smoothly. Everybody got along. It was very professional. The second time when I worked for Greg, he asked me to come work for him in August of '09. Things were different. There was hardly anybody working in the office, and his demeanor seemed to change. I always thought that Greg was more than a boss. I always thought
What type of business?
It was a mortgage brokerage.
Oh, his company?
Yes,
and
I'm
you
sorry.
say what year? When did you leave?
I left in '07.
And everything was fine?
Everything was great.
Full staff?
Yes.
'09?
'09.
It's bought out of business, right?
Yeah.
Just like every other mortgage company.
Yes, yes.
'07, they were rolling. That was the height of the predatory lending. Then when Wall Street collapsed because of those bad loans that were being made, everybody's mortgage company collapsed with it. So it makes sense.
It does. It does.
So
and when
nonetheless, you went back and everything was in a mess, and then what?
It was. You know, HUD was changing their laws, and things were starting to boom, it seemed. And I worked for him before, so I figured, hey, this is a great opportunity for employment. I was unemployed. I always trusted Greg. He always seemed to really care about his employees. Like I said, when I worked for him this last time...
Most Gregs are trustworthy and care about their employees.
Some Gregs.
Go ahead.
Things were different. Not only was the office a lot smaller, his demeanor seemed to change. I always thought that Greg was more than a boss. I always thought he cared about his employees because that's the way he seemed to be. I thought he was more of a friend than a boss. This time around, there was a lot of sexual harassment, a lot of negative attention towards me, towards
the defendant?
Yes.
Okay, and he wasn't that way before?
No, he wasn't. Greg, for example, Mr. Glazer is not computer savvy, and I would help him at the computer. And it was not pleasant. It was started with lean over further so I can see more of your cleavage.
Oh, that's not true.
Then it went to what is your favorite sexual positions with your boyfriend? The man has children and is married.
That's not true. That's not.
It was
Sir,
always.
let her finish.
Michelle, did you lose weight or did your boobs get bigger? You know, it was always a struggle for me.
What would you say to him?
I would laugh it off. I didn't have any other defense.
You want to tell us about your experience? State your name.
Yes, my name is Tina Clendenning. I worked for Greg Glazer for approximately about 9 years, and countless times that would occur.
In the later years or in the early years as well?
In the later years, it started small, but it progressively got worse. There were situations where he would walk down the hall and he would stop at my office and he'd ask me to stand up and do a little spin around. He wanted to check my outfit out and check my back end out, obviously. There'd be times we'd be outside smoking and he'd ask some of the girls what their bra sizes were and you know, kind of compare breasts. It was very, very uncomfortable. There was
demeaning.
Very demeaning, absolutely. But we were there for a paycheck.
Right. Sir, you want to tell me about this before we get to the wages?
I've never heard this before, and none of it's true.
You all have never approached him about this?
No, Your Honor, but I can tell you another.
You still work with him?
No.
So why haven't you said it before? Why is this his first time hearing it?
It was said to him before, like, please don't talk like that, or get out of our office. You know, there was times where even at the witness that's here today, I was sitting in on her interview, and I made a comment about, gee, Greg, there's nothing but women that work here, and he said, yeah, I think we should get a stripper pole. It was very uncomfortable.
Pardon me?
Do you still work for him?
No, I do not. No.
All right, in the future, ladies, when someone sexually harasses you, at least somehow find a way to document it, put it in writing so that he knows. Go ahead. You've never done any of this, sir?
I've been in management and business for ever. I'm 57 years old. No one's ever said anything like that or brought it up before.
Well, they do admit that you only started in recent years. If I am to believe them,
I have a
they
beautiful
say it only
wife.
started in recent years.
Yeah, but I have a beautiful wife. That's not the case.
Okay.
Greg, if your wife is so wonderful, why have you cheated on her with, say, Ann and
We're not
Jessica?
going there. We're not going to talk about his dalliances. Now, you all can talk about how he has harassed you guys, if at all. Unpaid wages, why are you suing him for that? What happened?
When I came to work for him the second time, the agreement was that until I closed loans, that I would be paid the minimum wage for the hours that I worked. And he even quoted that he had to do that legally. Now, after working for him for a month, even after I started closing loans, it was very difficult to
That's
get
not
paid,
true.
let alone either on time or the whole amount that I was entitled to, whether I closed loans or not. I still never saw the initial minimum wage that I put hours in for. So I struggle with my sobriety, and I don't want to blame anybody but myself, but a lot of this caused some stress to that sobriety. There were times that, with invitation from Greg, I went out after work with coworkers and had some drinks. This ultimately ended up with a bad relapse.
And that's not
And I
true.
ended up incarcerated. Like I said, it's no fault but my own.
For what? Drunk driving? or
Drunk
something?
driving. And I was incarcerated. Now, while incarcerated, I realized that I don't have to put up with all that crap. I don't have to put up with sexual harassment. I don't have to put up with going, oh, it's okay. Well, he promised to pay me, and legally I am due those wages, but I'll let it go. I can't do that to myself anymore. I have to stick up for myself, and I have to stick up for what's right.
So that's why you're here today?
And
is
that's
that?
why I'm here. But while I was incarcerated, I filed a claim with the Department of Workforce Development in Wisconsin.
Oh, good. Alleging the sexual harassment?
No, just for the lost wages.
Why didn't you mention the sexual
I
harassment?
did mention that, but because
You did?
I did. But I was incarcerated, and I only had my own statement. I didn't have any witnesses,
Do
nothing.
you have that today?
I have all the forms from Department of Workforce
No, the
Development.
part about, because we got to clear this up. You
No.
kinda,
No, I don't. No, I don't.
Why didn't you mention, do you have the letter where you claimed your wages?
No, I have the findings from Department of Workforce
You don't have the
Development.
letter that you
that they
sent
found in my favor.
do you have the letter that you used to begin the investigation?
No, I do not.
That you wrote while you were in jail?
No, because I sent that to Department of Workforce
Yeah,
Development.
didn't keep a copy. And secondly, why didn't you include the allegation of sexual harassment? Because you are sending a letter for an investigation into the workplace.
Yes.
Why didn't you do that?
I left that out.
Why?
I don't have the letter. I
I know we don't have the letter. You said you left it out, and I'm asking why.
I wasn't at that place to admit that. I was at a place where my self-esteem was so low that I thought I deserved to be treated like crap. And I was embarrassed. To be honest with you, I was very embarrassed because it's very degrading.
I'm going to leave it alone, ma'am, but it just concerns me that you had an opportunity, just as you wrote the authorities about your money, and you said you were sticking up for yourself because you were in jail. Well, that's the number one area to stick up for yourself. It's when you're being sexually harassed.
I don't know how to answer any of that.
All
It's a
right.
very difficult situation. It's very difficult to talk about. It makes me angry and it makes
Give
me
us
feel
some tissue.
disgusted.
The wages he owes you are from what dates?
They're from August 1st of 2009 to October 24th of 2009.
Okay, let me have your paperwork. You have a letter where they say that he owes you?
I have 2 letters, actually 3 letters. One letter is from Department of Workforce Development to Greg, finding in my favor. The second letter is a letter to Greg saying that he didn't pay when he was put by the deadline. And the third letter is from Department of Workforce Development to me stating what my rights were.
Okay. Sir, you owe her any money?
No, I do not.
You get a notification from the state of Wisconsin
Yes.
Workforce Development. Did they determine that you owed her money?
Yes, and I called the person on there to start the process for appeal, and she said that she was not going to pursue it legally.
She's not going to pursue the appeal.
No, she wasn't going to pursue any legal action about the claim.
No, but she made a determination that you owed.
Yes, she did. She basically has to because of it's a complaint, and
She
I
has
had
to
no
determine
time
that you
records.
owe.
Well,
No, they determined that after they investigated. This says, I have completed my investigation. She looked into it, and she determined that you owed.
yeah, she did. And I had the right to appeal.
Right,
And
you
she
didn't.
said, basically, it's a moot point because I'm not going to pursue it legally.
She turned your appeal down.
She said I didn't need to appeal because she was not going to pursue it any farther.
Why didn't you appeal anyway?
I should have.
Yeah, you should have, because today you owe because you didn't. All I have is evidence that says you owe. They've investigated, and they concluded that you owe. $4,350 is your judgment. Have a good day.
Thank you. He's a pig, and he's a
If you went
crook.
dressed like a slut, you probably wouldn't get anyone would say anything to you.
You know, I dress pretty conservatively.
Absolutely, professional.
And of course, you'd say that you're his lover.
Actually, we are licensed loan officers. You've never been.
It's bull. I never even heard anything
No,
like
it's
this
not.
before.
If he would just be honest with himself,
He's a
get the help
crook.
that you
He's a
need.
crook.
Get the
In
help
fact,
that you
the
need.
state of
I
Wisconsin
didn't even go
should
with the stuff that you
investigate
said to
him.
me in the bar. It's a shame, Greg,
We just
because
don't
we
need to
really
be.
trusted you, and I'm speaking for myself.
Yes.
I really trusted you.
Yes, we
You
both
did when
did.
you took a bunch of
We
files
both
to
did,
another
and I hope
company.
this is the beginning of other
please.
people sticking
They
up
came
for
back to us
themselves.
and closed, by the way.